Thank you. I think uh, we have heard a very good positive note. It is so good to know and to hear about teachers who have sacrificed and at the same time taken the trouble to maintain the rhythm of education. And this is happening in many places. These are individual initiatives, but one should hope that this becomes systemic and institutionalized and recognized. There
Yes.
are, of course, there are good teachers. Uh, I just thought I was given four questions. I will do some 3 minutes on each question. One was, what happened during pandemic. That has also been covered by everyone. So I don't want to repeat that, but I thought I should flag about many children being out of school. And what I learned is about the role of school during pandemic.
Right.
That we found out that parents were so disappointed that the schools were closed, and that they didn't know what to do with their children when the schools were actually closed. And the poorest of the parents also felt that their dreams had been shattered. It was not just the parents, even the children who aspired to go to school, felt that something very abnormal and irregular has happened in their lives. What they recognized, what the poor recognized as the importance of school, unfortunately, was not the voice of those in establishment, and they had never even reckoned with the fact that it would have such a serious impact on children. So we
Right.
have two views. We have the view of the poorest of parents and the children who missed what the schools were about in their lives. And we have the elite, we have those in power and authority who had no clue, and sometimes I think I'm being strong, but I should say who did not even care about what the implications of closing down of school would be on children. And I think this reality became too stark for me, that earlier there was some fig leaf that was hiding the voice of the elite, the voice of those in power and establishment, that has just dropped. They
Mm-hmm.
didn't talk about children at all. It's not that they didn't know. They talked about so many issues, but about children and education was just not on the radar. And that I think should anger us. We are of course nice group. We want to be nice to everyone, but this must anger us that this should not have happened. So I would like to start on that. Although many things positive have happened at an individual level, individual initiatives, but the system just did not care. It did not care enough that it didn't even know that stopping of noon meal would harm children so much. The food hardship was so much of children. Parents, had no livelihood. They couldn't go anywhere because of lockdown. And you found that the food was diminishing in their houses. And many, if you want evidences, I can't give, but you can very well believe that if there is no noon meal scheme, if there is no noon meal, it would bring hunger. And I have known about individual cases whenever I spoke to children, or when I made on my field visits, I did see that they said that the quantity of food came down, quality of food came down, and it created so much of anxiety on these children. It also showed me that the schools were safe places for children. We do know, of course, schools are places for creation of knowledge, for learning outcomes, but they were also safe places. Schools kept them away from child labor. Schools kept them away from domestic violence, from abuse. It kept them away from child marriage. It kept them away from trafficking. It gave children the reason to exercise agency to say, we will not participate in all these issues because we have to study. So, in a way, the children's agency could not be exercised because there was no purpose to show that this is why we don't want to do. If there were schools, whatever kind of schools, they would have said, we have to go to school, we have to study. So that function of the school, I think we have to recognize. Schools are safe places that prevent children from child labor, child marriage, hunger. And also, schools are spaces that define new routines. What you do when you get up, what you do when you pack your bag, your lunch boxes, what you do when you get back, what you do when you do your evening homework, what you do in the night. So it created a rhythm, And it's so important to have that rhythm, and that was totally lost. And they certainly didn't want the kind of rhythm that replaced that. Then, of course, of new aspirations that the schools provided, new networks, new web of relationships. That after eighth class I go to ninth somewhere else, after ninth I go somewhere else to this. All that was lost, and whatever we gained, that was already mentioned by the earlier speakers. There was a reversal of gains that we made, and friendship, play, pranks, all that were lost. And I think these were the things. When we define what a school is, we will have to define a school as a space for children and not only as space for learning, because the emphasis on learning is important, but we will have to recognize the definition of school as a space that stands for equity, that stands for justice, that stands for democracy. These broad values get concretized in the daily practices of school. So I think that is so important. It is. So that is my first thing. The second thing is, what do we do then? I'll just, because I do have to leave, I'll just give a quick menu that I have made on what should be done, not in the order of priority, but just a quick menu. One is, of course, putting the infrastructure of schools in place. We have seen photographs, we've seen real schools in the municipalities and villages that have come to shambles. And I think there has to be double investment into bringing them into order. They became cowsheds, they became places for drunkards, they became all kinds of places. Schools don't look like schools. And a lot of, and community, of course, participates in cleaning the school. They've done a lot, but community participate itself is not enough. Then preparing teachers in a systematic way, that the earlier speaker said, so I don't want to delve on it further, but I think preparing teachers, giving them confidence, they have faced tragedies themselves, so we will have to sort of get them to reconstruct their lives even as they reconstructed the schools. That is very, very important. Tracking of children is so important. It's not, I think sometimes I'm not very happy with the factor of creating evidence that children have dropped out. We don't need to do further research. Look at the attendance register. We know 99% of children are already in school up to class 8 according to the government program itself. Those names are there in the attendance register. We will have to have a program of verification of attendance registers, and for 3 or 4 months, find out if children are coming regularly to school, and if children have been absent for more than 5 days, then they are children at risk, and we will have to have a method of following up either through the Gram Panchayats or the school management committees or whatever local Ajivika groups or other committees to see that these children come back. Verification of attendance registers are very, very important and a practice that must be adopted. I should say this practice should have been adopted even before pandemic, but there are now many more who are out of school and are stuck in labor force. Let me tell you, many parents have taken advances, to meet their daily requirements, and they pledged their children. They pledged girls, they pledged boys. I can give you names of 500 children who have thus been pledged, but that is not evidence enough. I can't help it. It has to be done by a reputed university and academician. Only then that becomes truth. But then I think we will have to look at the truth that grassroots level organizers have about children being pledged. And pledged to whom? Not great employers. There are children who have been pledged with their own uncles, within the family. So they're so invisible. We will have to find out about all that. Then we will have to have what we need to do is another thing. I'm not going into the pedagogy aspect of it because I know that all of you are experts on it and you will do that much better than I do. But I'm looking at the general environment building activities, because unless there is an environment where these children's rights are spoken about again and again, all the other learning activities do not have meaning. We have to again bring children back into the center stage of the village conversation and dialogue. So we need to have, say, motivational centers in every village to give confidence to out of school children to first come there to meet. This has happened in many places. There were village learning centers, there were youth groups who were running centers, there were teachers who were running centers. I think we have to, as a community activity, wherever possible with support of Gram Panchayat, we should continue with these centers. And how to convert it into a policy, we have to think through, but I think this has to be encouraged. The other thing is about which we find right now is the transportation facilities. During COVID, the public transport has been withdrawn completely because there was no, it wasn't a profit-making thing. Private and public transport just were withdrawn. And now many places are using auto rickshaws. Auto rickshaws have become terribly expensive because they know that, this is a time they can make money. I think free bus passes and looking at an audit of buses flying to the village, to the nearest school is very important, and also free, as I said, free bus passes. The insistence on Aadhaar card. I do not know about many states, but the states I have heard about, when children from private schools come to public schools, there is so much of documentation they're asking for, especially of the Aadhaar card and the transfer certificates from the private schools. Private schools are not giving a transfer certificate unless they are pay the arrears of all the 2 years of lockdown fees, and so there has to be policy saying that private cannot insist on arrears of fee payment. They have to issue transfer certificate whenever a child is asking for it. And even if the transfer certificate is taking time, is not available, government schools will have to accept them. That is the RTE Act. There has to be a clear thing that you can't stop a child from getting admission into school because you don't have all these documentations. This is true of migrant children also, who were in urban slums, who have gone back to the villages, they're shifting schools, they don't have documentation. And that is in violation of the Act. I think we have to think about that. Then the other things, policy measures would be implementing the RTE Act. And we have, so many of us tried social audit. I think we need to have social audit of schools and of children in the schools on a big scale. If RTE Forum can take it up, have a form which all of us will implement in all our, wherever we are, and then we do a baseline, and after 3 months we do an end line of the same schools to see whether the conditions have improved of the school, its infrastructure, the children, their attendance. I do not know how an audit of learning can be done, but if that also can be done, I think that would be very good as solid data on then and now, at least soon after COVID opening of schools, and 3 months later. We need to have some kind of a simple format where all of us can participate. That would be of very great use. We will also have to double the capacities of ask for doubling the capacities of all the residential schools, the KDBV, the model schools, the ashram chalas, and flexibility in admission, not to insist on for children. They will have to be welcomed. There has to be rethinking on all these schools, I think. Then noon meals to be extended up to secondary school level. I think we have only up to class 8. Even the national policy on education talked about meals till secondary school. We should insist on what the national policy on education did. So the last point is what other departments should do. I won't go to the details because I have to leave also, but I think the labor and the police department have a role to play, and they must become our partners in this program for getting all children to school. And even such children who are never going to school should be included, not just school dropouts, but those who were dropouts even before COVID. Then there are many child-related institutions. They should be brought into the loop by the education department because, as the note says, education department alone cannot do it. The entire district child protection unit with its village protection units. Childline has a huge program. There has to be a propagation of Childline. I know the childline in some places, children have said we have no toilets. Children have said we have no schools. Children have said we don't have an English teacher. We don't have a maths teacher. Expanding the scope of childline to include education related issues in a way that if this doesn't happen, even this is child abuse. You know, so we will have to encourage children to start calling 1098 for not having facilities in schools. And that is a violence, and that is also a violation of children's rights. Then, of course, Gram Panchayats have to track every child. I'm sorry, I'm hurrying up. Talking to teachers union, if RTE forum can bring teachers union, not the state or national level persons who have lost touch with schools. They're as remote as we are about schools. But with teacher union leaders of the district level, if there are some 10 of them, and if they can tell us what they think should be done to involve teachers and to see how those teachers' voices reach the ministry, that would be of very great use. On technology, I have a lot to tell, but there's no time.
All right.
It has been covered. Finally, I would say that we will have to work on greater decentralization and lateral sharing of innovations that happens between blocks, between clusters, between teachers. There's never a lateral sharing. It used to happen before. Somehow it stopped. It's always vertical from top to bottom, but we will have to insist on horizontal sharing and exchanges, especially because post-COVID, it's not business as usual. It's not that children dropped or finished in class 4, they are in class 6, and as if nothing happened in those 2 years that you start off with a curriculum. That's no way. It's not business as usual. And one has to give lot. I'm not getting into the pedagogic aspects at all, because I know, Shubir, you are good at it. People here are very good at it. But at least insist that it is not the same.
Yes.
They have forgotten. So much they have forgotten. And they have to be given confidence before they begin to learn. And start off from finding out from them how they survived the 2 years. And what knowledge can be created from their experience of 2 years. The kind of knowledge that they have, children have in those 2 years of experience can make textbooks.
Correct.
Can make stories. And can we do something like that? Learning from children about their lives, to give it back to children in a conceptual framework, to understand our society and to understand children, justice, democracy, and many of these concepts. This is what I have to say. I'm sorry. I'll have to leave. I can't stay on for question answers. So please.
No, thank you. Thank you very much. I think you covered quite a lot of ground. And if we need further, we'll contact you. We'll get in touch.
I'd like to keep in touch. I'd like to very much keep in touch. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye. All right. So friends, Dr. Shanta just shared with us her views. She talked about the role of the school, how it matters in children's lives. And she has given a number of detailed suggestions on many different aspects that can be looked at, certain things that the RTE forum can do. We also heard Dr. Sarvendra Vikram Singh, who talked about what UP has done in terms of issuing orders and how the number of students has increased from private coming into this. Classroom dynamics is changing, how they are realigning the learning outcomes, preparing the teachers. And he has also indicated that their system will be exploring or going deeper into issues related to social, emotional, psychosocial aspects, into the new collaborations that have emerged, the instability that might happen, and of course, dropouts. So these are all areas where all of our organizations can continue to connect with the government and also with each other. May I invite Angela now to join me and help isolate some of the key strands that are important to keep in mind as we go forward. We'll take about 10 minutes to do that.